Welcome back to All the Cars I've Loved Before, the podcast where we park the specs at the door to focus on the stories that matter. Your stories. It's time to get a little grease under your nails, grab your favorite car-themed t-shirt or hat, jump in our DeLorean time machine, get it up to 88, and get back to your first sense of pure freedom. The windows down, the music pegged, and your best friends piled in the back. Every car tells a story, whether it's that forgotten beater or the one that got away. We're diving into the personal history behind the metal, so let's get into it. I'm Doug, and I'm here going solo without the help of my wonderful co-host Dave. He's tied up today, and we're going to jump right into podcast updates. We want to thank today's sponsor. So let's face it, car news is scattered across hundreds of sites, newsletters, subreddits, and press rooms. Who has the time to chase after it? A new site called Suspension was designed to fix this. It pulls all the noise into a quick 2-minute read right from your inbox every morning. Today, just in my inbox, I learned about the UAW strike affecting GM heavy-duty axles, the latest politics around right to repair, and the fact that all Golf production is moving to Mexico in 2027. Volkswagen Golf, that is. So check it out and subscribe. The URL is suspension.news, and best of all, it's free. Suspension.news. And podcast reviews. People ask me, what is the best way to support the show? Give us a review, ideally on Apple Podcasts. Drop us a note, stories@carslove.com, or tell your friends. I do have a review to share. This one is from Peter G101, Peter G-E 101, that is. And Peter says, there are a lot of podcasts out there, but this one delves deep into the emotional attachment of the guests and the metal that they once owned. And this is a great show. Thank you, Peter. Really appreciate it. And for everyone listening, if you leave us a great review, 5-star review, we will read it live on the podcast. So please tune in and you'll hear your name. So on to today's guest. So as our podcast grows and I get more involved in motorsports, I was fortunate enough to come across today's guest in the media. And by coincidence, his grandfather, who is very involved in helping him, was in IT in the Nova area, Northern Virginia, and we know some of the same people. So when I was in Myrtle Beach a few months ago with my family on spring break, I was able to meet up with our guest's grandfather, who handles all of his sponsorships. And for anyone who doesn't know, motorsports is truly a family sport and tradition. Everyone wants to see you succeed, and they lend a hand wherever possible, whether it's from retirement or just pitching in, putting on social media. So without further ado, we are thrilled to welcome Kaeden Ballos to our virtual garage today. He's coming to us. Thank you, Kaeden. He is coming to us from North Carolina, and Concord, North Carolina, and he is an 18-year-old racer. He's been making waves in the late model ranks behind the wheel of the number 19 car in the NASCAR Weekly Series, and he's a proven competitor. He's taken home the 2022 NX Summer Shootout Championship and has racked up several wins in his late model career, including a recent step up to the highly competitive Cars Tour. And so, Kaeden, welcome to the show. We're excited to have you here. And we're going to do something unique that we've been doing with our race car drivers. We're going to talk less about although I do want to hear about your daily driver and first cars, but we're going to talk more about your race cars and where you've gone, where you started, where you went to, and how you got there. So
yes, sir.
Can you tell us about your background, how you got into racing, when, and what motivates you to get behind the wheel?
Yeah, thank you for having me first off, Doug. I really appreciate the podcast, and I think it's pretty neat what you do.
Thank you.
So what first really originated me wanting to get behind the wheel was, I would say, the legacy that my grandfather, Tom Ballos, so as of right now, he unfortunately passed away. But my other grandfather, he's been helping me with sponsorship and everything. But as of right now, I'd say looking back, the most important thing in my life was realizing the legacy that he created, realizing that there's something else that I have to fulfill, right? There's a duty almost in this world for me. And it's something I've seen since a young age. Since my dad brought me to the go-kart track when I was like 6 years old. He's, hey buddy, you want to go to our local dirt track? And ever since then, I've just been kind of tied in. And it's the same place that Denny Hamlin started racing when he was younger. Same first place he ever started. So it's just like a dirt track, but they actually run like prep tires and everything on there. So it's like paved, grooved. So it's not actually, you're not getting sideways, you're not running a micro, you're not doing anything like that. But fortunately, it did help me quite a bit to progress towards the asphalt ranks moving forward. So I'd say running my first dirt go-kart race and going out there for the first time and just taking a look at the karts, it really drew my attention and really got my interest in racing.
No, thank you for that. And I think I remember from our discussion that you were a fourth generation racer.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Can you tell us more about that? You mentioned your grandfather, but obviously there's more in the family that were involved.
Yeah. So my great grandfather raced. He raced, I think, the street stocks and like local dirt tracks and local like asphalt tracks as well.
Mhm.
Kind of looks like the car behind you in a sense. Back in the day, super super old. And then my grandfather actually raced in the Goody Dash series in the 70s and the 80s. He
Okay.
ended up becoming the NASCAR race director for quite a bit. Ended up becoming a tech official at Southside Speedway, Virginia. So
Wow.
he had his rounds quite a bit, and a lot of people knew him. And I
Mhm.
was really surprised at his funeral to see the amount of names and the amount of people that really knew him and really held his name deeply in their heart. So it helped me quite a bit on my journey. It made me even more fired up to go out there and spread, his journey and his legacy even farther than he already has. And I think it's very important to me.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And how about your father? I think.
Yes, I totally forgot about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
my father also raced. He raced late models, believe when he was younger, but nothing could go further than that. But I believe he raced somewhat of the similar path that I have already kind of created for myself, and he's provided for me already. So it's been, it's kind of neat to see the full circle in a way through generation.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And you're obviously we talked about your grandfather, the one I met, Thomas.
Yes.
And let's see, your mother, I think your mother and your father involved as well. Yeah, please.
So we call it the Kaeden Ballos team, and
Kaeden
it's
Ballos team.
it's our
Yeah.
family. It's my mom, my father, my grandmother, and my grandfather, and we all sit down I'd say every Tuesday, maybe every other week, and we discuss for about an hour, hour and a half what we need to get done, what we have got done, what we need to focus on moving forward, what we could do better for sponsorship, and in entirety, we all want to see this whole team win. It's not just me behind the scenes doing it's everybody, and that's something that I don't think many people understand.
Right. Truly a family affair,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
not uncommon when it comes to racers, right?
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. I'd say anybody making it in today's world has had their father, mother, or some type of grandparent or relative, family step up and really usher the way. And that's kind of what I've already seen in my life. And I'm super, super grateful for that.
Right. Starting at age 6, right?
Yeah, if you look back at it and you think about it, it's quite ridiculous. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, you're 18 now, so over half your life.
Yeah,
Yeah,
12 years.
amazing. Like 3/4, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of people who were influential, and of course, we're coming off the passing of Kyle Busch, but I saw a post from you with a picture of him, a much younger Kaeden Ballos. Can you tell us about that? How old you were when you met him, and just the impact of that?
Yeah. So I believe that was maybe one of the third or fourth times I'd actually met him.
Okay.
Like before that, I've attended races and had the opportunity to meet him before, but that was one of the only times I really sat down and got to speak and talk with him and really get to know him. It was at a Top Golf event. It was Samantha's Charity Foundation event and the Bundle of Joy Foundation. And we got to play Top Golf with Ray Abraham and sit down and talk with Kyle Busch. And I actually got to meet, Samantha's father and we became great, great friends. But that's a different story for another time. And I got to meet Kyle and thinking back at that time, I was about 13 years old when I really got to know him. And he was my favorite driver, ever since 6 years old. And looking at this screen, looking at the 18 M&M car go and win pretty much every race. I feel like
Mhm.
he dominated in his era. And I think anybody could say that as well. And even if you hated him, even if you loved him, I think everybody could agree he was one of the best talents in NASCAR there's ever been. Besides, Jeff Gordon and a bunch of these names, he falls right in line with every single one of them. And it's so sad to see, his legacy discontinued in a way, right? We would have seen a different Kyle Busch in this upcoming season. And I believe he was starting to get it, and I think you would have seen a different side of him in this RCR team. And
Okay.
it's sad, right? It's very
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah. Well, you're one of the lucky people. And actually, there's so many pictures of people who had met him and spoke so highly of him, just like yourself. And having been able to meet him 3 or 4 times, it's just incredible. And yeah, I was
Well,
going to guess you were about 12 or 13 in that picture. So I was pretty
yeah,
close.
I've seen him pretty much, I would say, every other week at the racetrack. His son, Brexton Bush, would attend most of the races and most of the racetracks that I go
Mhm.
to. Because, in the late
Okay.
models, they also have legends and also have at some of the tracks. And so sometimes they show up and I get to see, Brexton and the family and Samantha and how they're just normal people. And it's so sad to see that, you know, the person
Yeah.
ushering him along, kind of like what we just talked about, how important the father, the mother, the entire family is in the process. To see that he lost, maybe the biggest provider and the biggest leader he could have had is quite difficult to grasp. And he's
Yeah.
definitely gained a fan for the rest of my life. I know. I
Yeah.
know for a fact that I'm
And
going to be
many.
rooting for him. Yeah,
Yeah. And many. No, thank you for that. And thank you for sharing that story.
of course.
Yeah, I know the whole NASCAR community is hurting over that loss, but
It's a tough one. Yeah,
yeah.
it's came out of nowhere. I don't,
Yeah.
I'm not even really dealing with it. I'm just kind of, just accepting it in a way.
People light up talking about cars. It's like the best icebreaker out there. So
It is. I think
it's
it's
fun.
it's something that creates the most unity. You see racing, it has the best community I've ever seen out of any sport known to man.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. It's just not that there's animosity on the track, but off the track it's over, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Right? Like, for example, actually, last night, I got into it I was personally just running clean, running next to
Mhm.
this guy, and I won't say names, but he's one of my good friends. And I've seen him at most of the racetracks I go to, and he actually messaged me after the race apologizing for what had happened. And stuff like this, you don't really think about when you look at it in the stands, the connections. You don't think about how people are running each other, and you just don't see it, right? You don't see the behind the scenes. But we got on the track and we were running together, and I had some good crossovers on him, and I kept basically outrunning him on the high side, and he kept trying to pass me on the low side, but he couldn't make it work because the high side was just better that night, and I was able to get to the gas quicker and outrun him off the straightaway. And he had a really good 1 and 2, but I had an out, you know, I can't even explain. He said it was, some of the craziest work he's ever seen. 3 and Mike, he had mentioned, like, he could not get around me, and I knew it, right? I kind of just held him off for a reason
Mhm.
because I knew that he was faster in 1 and 2, but I had 3 and 4 kinda locked down. And so, eventually, it kind of got so upsetting that he kept entering on the low side, washing up, eventually washed up too high and completely wrecked me. And he ended up coming to me and apologizing, and I really appreciate that, because some
Yeah.
people would have just let that go and not even said a word. So very mature of him, and he's a younger driver himself. I think he's about 14.
Okay. Gotcha. Wow.
So 14 years old, racing the
Yeah.
late model division. I
Yeah.
see, a lot of people doing that. One of my best friends actually started at age 12, was it? Age 11? 10 years old, something like that. It was crazy, but he always had to, like, lie about his age and a little bit to
Mm.
not get in trouble. People would get a little bit offended that a 10-year-old or 11-year-old beat them. So,
Yeah. And the fan base, right, in racing, like everybody's got their favorite, right? But it's not like going to, I don't know, basketball, football
yeah.
when the other team loses and like, I don't know, some of the fan stuff, right?
Mhm.
You gotta be careful at some of those events.
Yeah,
That doesn't
right?
happen in racing. Not
Anybody else for having an
Mhm.
opinion. That's something I don't see, which is quite funny, actually.
Yeah. No, the sport's not divided. I love that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm writing it down for everybody who's wondering what I'm doing. So,
Yeah, no worries.
yeah, with that said, we're gonna get to our trivia question. I'm pretty sure you'll know the answer, but we're gonna save the answer for the end. But the question is, why do most American oval tracks, from short tracks to the Indy 500, run counterclockwise or turning left? So hold that. I was surprised by the answer as well. So it's just interesting seeing the origins and where they come from, but I don't want to give it away. So with that said, tell us about your first car, racing car, since we're at what, age 6, 7 now. What was
Yeah.
it? How'd you get it? What great memories come back? Obviously, it was your first racing car, so there's a lot of deep memories there, I'm sure.
Yeah. So it was my first real car. I remember my first time in the actual race car. It was a, dirt champ kart, and you had the prep tires, no groove tires, all prep. And it was quite fascinating as a young kid going out there. I remember putting my helmet on for the first time and it choking my neck. I was a little claustrophobic, and I still remember that to this day. And getting in that car, I remember doing about 100 laps my first time out on the track. And
Wow.
I loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. My dad was waving me down. He couldn't get my attention fast enough. And I was out there in the zone. I think, it's my first car I ever really got to experience. I really wrecked in, really flipped. My first real flip. Like, I barrel rolled down the back straightaway at my local dirt track, Capital City Speedway. Came off a 2, and I was
Wow.
passing for the lead. I was on the outside, and he was on my inside, and I passed him on the outside, and I don't think he had known knowing that I was on his outside, and he went up into me and completely took me out. But it was okay because I ended up actually looking back on that time and appreciating him for doing it. It took the fear out of me after that day. You know, barrel rolling in a champ cart down the back straightaway when there's cars passing next to you. All you can see is nothing really. It's a good memory to have, and it takes the fear out of you when you go into these, safer race cars like I'm currently in.
Yeah. No, interesting to start that way. And,
Yeah.
your parents kept you going, right?
Yeah.
And they probably would have given you an out if you wanted it, but you just
Yeah.
kept going, right? And
My
it
my mom would never let me race the flat carts, so they had, like, the flat carts with no roll cages, and she said, "No. No,
okay.
not at all." So,
Got it.
which is
Noted.
understandable considering if I would have flipped in that would have been horrendous. So,
Yes.
yes.
Yep. Yep. Mom knows best for sure. Yeah. So how did you get that car? I think there's an interesting story around that. I think.
Yeah, I believe my first ever race car was bought by my grandfather, Tom Ballos, and that was the Christmas after he had bought me my first crazy kart, which was actually like my first real feeling for adrenaline and feeling for speed. I would take
Yeah.
this, it's called a crazy kart. For anybody who doesn't know what that is, it's pretty much a drifting toy for kids. And it's like, it's got four wheels. You sit down in it like a go kart and you pull a lever and it drifts you around. Right. And so I would practice doing this in the parking lot of my school on weekends with my father and my mother. We would go
Mhm.
out there and I would just drift around the parking lot with the crazy cart. I actually remember one time my mom wasn't looking and I was just locked in on the track. I wasn't realizing and she stepped onto the track and I knocked her out clean off her feet. Thankfully, it wasn't too fast, right? But
Right.
it still was fast enough for me to remember it and still actually to this day, looking back, that was probably one of the best moments of my life. Was really just getting the feel for speed and understanding I really did like and had a passion for this.
No, that's awesome. And so you rode the Chimp cart for a while, right?
Yes, sir.
That's kind of where you got started. And then you moved on to so you grew out of it at one point, right? Is that the
Well, funny story,
Yeah.
actually. Grandfather now, Thomas Mockbee, he actually was neighbors with Rick Wren, which is Kyle Busch's ex-crew chief. Funny enough, talk
Got
about
it.
Kyle Busch, it was his
Mhm.
winning most I believe he has the most wins with Kyle Busch. And so went through his whole career with him, which is pretty neat to see. And he was the first one that came to me after I came to him in his garage. I came to him one day knocking on his door. I just wanted to introduce myself with my grandfather, my grandmother, talk to him and his lovely wife. And I actually, he quizzed me. He asked me a question. He said, when you're racing, where do you feel it the most? Where are you driving off of your left front, your right front, your left rear, your right rear? And, to me, I'm thinking, and he said, where do you feel it? Right. And I said, I don't feel it in any of those spots, honestly. I feel it off directly under me, under my seat, under my butt. And he said, that's the answer I was looking for, right? He said, get him off of dirt, put him into asphalt, put him into
Okay.
this, move him forward. When he starts getting wins in late model, call him. He said,
Okay.
I have the owner, basically the director, the same person who makes all the shots for Toyota in my back pocket, right? And he said, when you start winning in late model, come to me. So right now we're trying to get my name out there the best we can. And hopefully what we're doing is working because I think right now, the path that I've created for myself, there's no way it doesn't work. There's so much output. There's so much progression. There's so much fight drive in me that there's no chance that this doesn't work because I'm going to fight every day for it too.
Yeah, I can see it in everything you do, all your social media posts, just your energy level. And we were talking before, you're the oldest 18-year-old I've ever met. Like easily, like talking to somebody double your age, maturity
Yeah.
wise. So it's impressive.
I'm sure my mom would argue, would
Yeah,
beg to
but
differ,
that's a
but
mom.
I appreciate you, Doug. Thank
Yeah.
you.
No, you're
For
you're you're welcome, man. I don't say it because it's BS. I say it because I believe it. So and
You seem like a straightforward guy. I take
yeah,
you as, you say what you believe, and I appreciate you
yeah.
saying that.
Well, yeah. Secretly, I hope my kids aren't listening. Of course, they're not listening to the podcast. I'm hoping they'll be half as mature as you are in the near future. So we all hope
Man,
for that.
thank you, Doug.
So yeah. So once you grew out of that league scene, that car, what was your next car? Can you tell us about it?
Yeah. So when I came to Rick Rand, we had a discussion, he said, move to asphalt. And we're thinking, where? We already thought about one of the places that my buddy Tristan McKee was racing. It was the Summer Shootout. It was Bandolero cars at the Summer Shootout. So asphalt quarter-mile track that actually passes the start-finish line at Charlotte Motor Speedway. So you're racing on the track of Charlotte Motor Speedway. You take a turn down, and then you're going down the pit road of the actual same place that NASCAR drivers go. And my first real taste for victory, I remember being in the Bandolero car and winning my first summer shootout race, getting up on that stage, and they'd bring like this trailer out. They'd have like this big, poster with like cookout, summer shootout, behind it. Or I think it was Bojangles at the time. They had the Bojangles cups everywhere. So it's very, very nostalgic for me. I remember, Lenny Baticki is actually the announcer. He comes on stage and you roll the dice for the next people to go out, see what position, what invert everyone in the field gets, which kind of makes it cool for the next people to see and the next, cars to come. But my first real taste for victory is actually on the start finish line, right? The same place the drivers get out at Charlotte Motor Speedway, climb the wall, see the fans in the stage, and it's so cool to be able to experience the same feeling. So,
Wow. Yeah,
yeah,
that sounded like fun.
I can
So an amazing experience. So
so
tell me, if you will, and hopefully our listeners will know, but tell us about the Bandoleros, what kind of vehicle it is,
yeah,
engine, transmission, how it differs from NASCAR, let's say.
yeah. It's like a brick on wheels. So
Okay.
it really there's gas, there's brake, not much to it. There's no clutch pedal, although in the back there's an axle, there's a motor, you have your gear, right? Obviously you have everything still there, the clutch, but you're not actually using this in the car. It's just the pedal, steering wheel, brake, everything you need. Yeah. Gas,
Mhm.
brake, pedal. Or gas,
Got it.
brake, steering wheel. You got it.
Yeah.
Boom. You have your ignition, you have your start button. Same thing for any car. But it's, I'd argue it's the closest thing to brick on wheels there's ever been. You just pretty much a body, chassis, on wheels, gas, pedal, steering wheel. It's very
Mhm.
simple. And it drives exactly like that. It's almost like having to angle the brake perfectly before you enter the corner. And it prepared me very well for late model racing. You wouldn't think so, but it really did. And it was my first real taste of competition too, because the summer shootout, there's people from all across the globe come there to compete for about 8 weeks during the summer. It's the best competition there is for this type of racing. So legend cars, Bandolero cars, it's the best type of racing there is in the country. So to be able to experience that at a young age, it was like a war zone. The best thing I could relate it to is for anybody who's played Call of Duty out there, any one of my gamer friends, you turn Call of Duty on, you go in the lobby and you listen to anything that's going on. It sounds like a war zone. It is a war zone, right? And that's how I would relate this type of racing in the summer
Okay.
shootout. It's a war zone. And it prepares you very well for any type of racing, which kind of relates into the next car you're going to talk about as well. But I'll let you do that.
Right. I'm curious, what are the top speeds out of that? We're not a spec
Yeah.
show here, but what are the top speeds somebody could expect out of a Bandoleros on that type of track?
I believe, let me make sure I get this right. I believe the Bandolero top speed on like the fastest track there is like
Mm.
56 miles an hour. I'm not sure they necessarily go faster than that. I don't think they have like 60, 70 miles an hour. I
Okay.
don't believe they go too quick, but on quarter mile tracks. So, which is still pretty quick for those tiny cars. But when you move up to like, it get a little bit more intense.
Right. And so, yeah, it really sounds like a skill building. And speaking of the brick on wheels, right? It probably doesn't turn that well. It doesn't do any of those things well, right? It's all about skill.
Yeah. 100%. And
Okay.
it's kind of like if you've ever raced karts or anybody out there who knows what karting is, if
Mm.
you've ever seen like the bridge race, you have to be very particular, very on point, very, I don't know, precise with everything you do because you're at the slowest speed. So everything matters, right? If you're running a higher class, you have better throttle management, you can mess up, but you can make it back, right? And
Mm.
brakes, and you're running draft, you're running in, the most particular technical type of racing there is. Everything matters. If your line's off by a hair, you will ruin your lap time. It's true. So it kind of relates in the same sense to Bandoleros.
Okay. Gotcha. No, thank you for that.
Yeah.
That's enlightening learning about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I did karting once or twice and just, it was some random fun event at some show and it was exhausting.
Yeah. How did you like it? How did you like it?
I did not like it at all. It was
It is
exhausting.
exhausting. Nobody thinks it, and that's
Yeah.
what I'm starting to realize when I first laid eyes on the cart. I'm like, oh, it's just a little cart. You
Yeah.
get there, you get in the thing, you're like, oh, let's say nothing. You get out, and you slowly start to realize that the people who do this have to train, have to prepare for this. It's not, you can't just hop in and do this. It's very physically taxing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just the amount of effort to steer that little wheel, not really wheel, but steer that
Yeah.
vehicle is just, it was amazing how exhausted my arms were after that and
Yeah.
elbows, wrist. Yeah.
You drive
So,
with your entire body, which is what most
yeah.
people don't understand. And karting, you actually lean, Euro lean is what they call it. You lean certain directions with your core. And that's how you turn the car at the
Mhm.
highest degree if you want to be the fastest. And it's a push and pull movement, right? So in the race
Mhm.
car, in a normal late model, you're turning just, normal, you have your shifter here, you're turning. In this car, you're actually pushing and pulling the chassis because it's so light and you can flex it. You can actually bend the entire chassis just by doing that. So it helps when you're trying to get the most grip out of the car.
Okay, gotcha. And for everybody who's watching this on YouTube, when the YouTube version of this comes out the following week, Kaeden just gave us a quick video example, so it was really, really helpful. Thank
Yeah,
you. Appreciate it. Yeah,
100%. And,
yeah.
still me even going back out to the track my first time out there, it's still very physically taxing. Doing it every day,
Mhm,
doing it every week, going to the gym every day, going to the sauna every day, still as an 18-year-old at the highest physical level I might ever be,
mhm.
still going out there still takes a toll on my wrists, my hands, my arms, everything. Right. So I would say, Doug, for you to be able to go out there and say the same thing and do it just as I did is very impressive because it's people don't understand, people really don't.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I didn't do it like you did, that's for sure, but I tried.
Yes,
Even
sir.
even some of the sim racing stuff is kind of exhausting.
Yeah.
It's
I
it
mean,
it's amazing that those rigs, what they're capable
yeah.
of doing. You
Yeah.
know better than
I
me, of course.
I actually have one downstairs, yes, and
Yeah.
I have the force feedback at, like, the highest degree, so it mimics the
Mhm.
late model that I'm in.
Okay.
So helps, right? And I went to a
Yeah.
sim racing expo with my buddy. It's in the
Mhm.
Charlotte area, and they were here with about 200 sims. I got to experience every type of race sim there possibly was, every different type of monitor, steering, pedal system, whatever. Everything was different, and it's neat. And it helped me in my sim today because I can go back and go, okay, this needs to change. I don't like this. I don't like this. Because now I know what I like. I had no clue what was out there.
Yeah. The amount of adjustment that's available has gotta be, like, infinite, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's
Yeah.
it's a market for sure. There's a lot of people making money. There
Yep.
definitely is.
Yep. Yeah, it's all over my feed once I started going, so
You can't stop.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's fun. It really is, and there's a local sim place here that
Mm.
I've gone to a few times, so we're gonna have one of the owners on the show soon. So, with all that, so you moved from the Bandoleros to what was your next car?
My next car was the Legend car, right?
Okay.
So for nobody who knows what the Legend car is, they're like miniature sized, old timey looking cars. It's hard to explain, but they have a motorcycle motor. Yamaha actually creates the motors for all the Legend cars. And
I
as
see.
of recently, they just progressed. They started like it was a 1250 is what they call it. And then they moved to like I believe the MT is the most recent one, which is electric. Actually, they're moving to electric motors
Oh,
instead of
wow.
gas fueled motors, which is it's created a lot of problems for me, and that's actually one of the main reasons I moved out of Legend cars. I
Okay.
started Legend racing with the gas motors with the 1250, and it was completely different. It was like a raw late model stock compared to like, pro late model, for example. So it was super neat, and I gained a lot of success in Legend car racing. It was one of the most intense style of racing I have ever been in. I will say it prepared me well for any type of racing to come. They say if you can race a Legend car, you can race any type of car out there because it's so light. There's so much motor. There's so much acceleration power that, you step on the throttle and it feels like you're burning the wind out there trying to hang on. And you're genuinely struggling, and even if you're fast, even if you're out there running at the fastest possible way you can, I would still argue you're out there and your arms are going pretty quick. It's just very intense, and especially at the summer shootout when you have people banging up against your front bumper. You're genuinely squished and you're still having to do this, it prepares you well for anything to come. If someone hits me now in the late model and I have, it feels like I have days to prepare to save it. I have, weeks at that. In the
I
Legend
see.
car, it feels like everything happens so quick, right? Sure,
Gotcha.
some people who race the micros at 160 miles an hour can say the same thing, but this is just my experience and how I can relate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, on to the late model, right?
Yes, sir.
So, late model is NASCAR, right?
Yes, sir.
Tell us
Yes.
about it.
Yeah, so it's the NASCAR Weekly Series is what I'm running currently.
Okay.
I race at tracks like Kaeden Motor Speedway, which is, it known for the birthplace of like most NASCAR stars. A bunch of people who've moved up who you see in the Truck Series, the ARCA Series, Xfinity Series, all run or have ran the same exact thing that I'm currently running. So what I'm doing now, it's
Mhm.
wide body stock car racing on short oval tracks, and just really getting the need for speed out here. Last night was one of my most difficult races. We were battling through struggles with the car handling wise, and just really the motor wasn't performing as well as we needed it to. And I was seeing that, right? And so I knew that they were beating me in one. And even if I got back to the gas at the same point, they were beating me. So in 3 and 4, I knew I had to make it up, right? And this has really progressed my ability to analyze the racetrack and see different things on it and not be so stuck in the moment, right? I can withdraw myself from the racetrack, think in my own head and resume while racing at 100, 30, 40 miles an hour,
Wow.
right next to other people. And it's so crazy to see. I feel like it's almost like a multitasking now, and the ability to progress and just what I've been training and what I've been doing as of recently, I know is going to pay off. And I really appreciate my father for, paying out of pocket and really providing me this entire lifestyle that I have currently. And I would not be here without my father, Thomas Ballos, and my mother, my parents, my grandfather, my grandmother, everybody who's laid a hand on this car, Petey Henson, Joe Robinson, any of my sponsors, I will say, 1 Hour, Balance of Nature, Wings of Wheels Foundation, Dry Water, any of the people out there, people in web development, anybody who's even helped me in the slightest. Thank you, everybody, because I wouldn't be here without any of you guys. Doug K, thank you for
Oh,
even allowing me to have an opportunity.
thank you for putting me in that category. We're so
Yeah,
happy to have you. And I've just, the little bit I've learned just by talking to you, but as a father, right, I'm just,
yeah,
your family has to be so proud because I'm proud to know you. So,
yeah. They're still disciplining me the best they can.
yeah.
Obviously, I'm sure we'll look back at days like this and really reflect at a different manner. But right now, it's serious.
Mhm.
Race dad, race kid, and we're moving forward in life. So I'm sure one day we'll look back and really analyze this at the highest degree. But right now, it's all motion.
Right. No, I got you. So I do want to ask, so normally this is about first cars, and we did talk about all your first cars, I
Yes,
think.
sir.
What is your daily driver? And I'm guessing it's not a Corvette. It's just transportation, right? At this point,
Yes.
what is it?
Corvette's coming. It's on the way. I think it's in the shop. It's getting built.
Oh, all right.
No, I'm just kidding. So actually,
Yeah.
right now, I'm driving a 2013 Dodge Dart. Nothing too shabby, nothing too
Okay.
too fancy, nothing like that. And just really get me by and save my bread up and trying to get to the best spot. I think ideally, right, thinking about this could go very far because my ideas range far. My dreams
Mhm.
range big. So my goal would actually be to end up owning one of the Bugatti Tourbillons. Have you seen that car by chance?
I have not, but it says
Yeah.
Bugatti.
Yeah, and which is, quite expensive, right? So ideally, I would love to aim that high, and I
Okay.
have it actually in my lock screen. I could show you my screen right now. I could
Mhm.
close Zoom and open this up, and it would be that exactly. Because
Okay.
I fight for something big and, you know, aim for the stars and settle for the
Yeah.
moon. At the end of the day, I have a dream and I'm willing to chase it. And I really do think that if anyone's out there thinking about a dream and they have a desire in their heart that's burning every day, that they want to chase and want to continue and want to start, but just haven't. You're waiting on people to judge you. Everyone's going to judge you no matter what. Like, I'm sure people judge my content today. I don't care. I'm still here making the most, some
Mhm.
people would say cringe. I don't care. I'm speaking in front of the phone like I'm speaking to an audience, but I just went to an influencer expo at the High Performance Expo. I talked with Mamba Smith, a lot of people who've built a following up to millions of followers on Instagram, social media, all throughout different, apps. And what they said to me was something I resonated with very deeply. They said, even if you're starting right now, at your age, maybe 1,000, 2,000 followers, not out there yet, you don't have a stage to perform on. This is your stage. This is who you're performing to. This is your audience. This is your stage. This is what you can develop on. And even if no one's listening, keep going because you're perfecting your craft, right? And it really resonated with me, man. Sorry to take this over, but
No,
I really,
no.
I felt like I need to share that.
No, you are your social media, just the Kaeden Ballos brand, if you will. I mean, you
Yes,
are
sir.
Fantastic. And I watched some of your content from the HPX, from the High
Yes.
Performance Expo. So it was fantastic. And yeah, I mean, you're constantly growing. And I haven't plugged my DeLorean and I'm not going to. But this will be the first time, even though I said it. I will say when I was not much older than you, trying to figure out my way, I wanted a 1990-ish Nissan 300ZX. And it was like
Yeah.
$30,000 back then. And I
Back then,
wasn't doing
too.
well in school. And what's that?
Back then, too, it's
Yeah.
expensive now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I have one in my garage now, but it's like 5 different colors. But that's another story. But
Ooh.
I was trying to figure out how can I ever afford a car like that, and
Yeah.
I think I had been plugged in, and I grew up around computers, of course, and I found out about this Novell networking, and back then we had the want ads, like it was things in the paper. Hey, here's a job, Novell administrator, $31,000 a year. I'm like, that will pay for it. And you know what? I totally forgot about the car for about 30 years. And then I finally bought one. And it was, I had a 240 SX in high school or post high school, and, same generation. And man, it was just like stepping into a time machine. I had the muscle memory of how to get the key out because there was a
Yeah.
little
You must have been
button
the
you
coolest
had to
kid in high
do.
school,
What's that?
Doug. You must have been the guy in high school, the coolest kid.
No, I was not.
I
But
said I was not.
my
I
friend
don't
who
believe
had
it.
cars was my late friend, sadly. But man, he went through some cars. He was the only child. He was spoiled, but he had a 300ZX, and I loved that car. He never let me drive it, and then he totaled it, of course, like he did all his cars. But that's not how he passed. But yeah, he was a big influence. I got my first stick shift car because of him, just all that stuff. But going back to your point, like that was what I wanted. And then along the way, I got married, I had kids. I forgot all about that car, but there is one in my garage. It's always a work in progress. But yeah,
Nice.
enough about me. I appreciate
Oh,
that. And
I love listening.
yeah,
Continue,
well,
man.
every car tells a story, right? That's our motto, and I believe it. So I want to get to our trivia question before we get too far off. So let's see if you know. So why do these traditional car races, including NASCAR, go on an oval tracking counterclockwise?
I feel like this is a trick question, Doug. I'm not sure.
I don't think so, but it's an interesting answer. So because of horse racing, so early car races were held on dirt racing track, and they ran counterclockwise so the spectators in the stands could see the jockey's whip hand on their right hitting the horse. But who would have thought that, right? And, we just take it for granted. If I hadn't looked into this, I would have never even realized. I'm like, yeah, why do they go counterclockwise? Why not clockwise?
Yeah.
So
I've never even thought of that question, at all.
Yeah.
Most people probably haven't either.
Just something we take for granted. So
Yeah.
speaking of where you're going, we talked before the show on the pre-show, if you will, about some recent experience in the F3 and F4 cars. And if you could just talk a little bit about that and where you see how that helped you and your mindset and where you see your career going.
I won't go too deep because I know I could talk for days about this topic, but I really did feel at home at the F3 and in the F3 at the Autobahn with Havoc Motorsport, as well as with, the Skip Barber Racing 3-day school at the VIR track in the F4. I did that, the F4, I did that right before 2 weeks prior to the F3 test, which really prepared me well, and same exact seating somewhat, the halo was different. There was something in front of me that was a little bit, my shoulders were packed down a little bit tighter, but other than that, it was quite similar, a little bit faster than the F4 for sure. With the F3 car, I just felt very natural. And, I actually came close to the track record, about a second off of the track record at the South course. And for anybody who's wondering what that actually looks like, you can see it on my YouTube. Look up Kaeden Ballos Motorsport. You'll be able to see my first run and my second run. Two of my fastest runs from the 2 days, 4 test sessions in total, but I only put my top 2 sessions up there because I was just learning. I picked up about 10 seconds overall. And for anyone wondering, you can just look me up on all socials, Kaeden Ballos, and you'll see there's actually a video on my socials that says that exactly. And yeah, it was the best experience I've ever had in a race car. Being able to live the life of road course racing, it was different, They don't treat you as well in oval racing, unfortunately. I went out there for the F3 test. I had my own pool table in the house. I had my own everything. It was ridiculous. And I stayed on track and woke up and I walked outside and that was my racetrack. And I can't even express how much of a welcoming time that Havoc Motorsport provided me.
Okay. No, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. No, I could tell how excited you were when we were talking about it beforehand. So enlightenment,
I can talk for days.
Right? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, we'll definitely have you back to talk about it. And yeah, thank you for sharing where to find you on social media. Just Kaeden Ballos or Kaeden Ballos Motorsport. We'll link that all in the show notes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And we start to wind down. We wanted to thank Kaeden Ballos for sharing his stories and his love for cars with us and his love for the track life with us. It was truly a pleasure. We know where to find you, and we hope to have you back soon. We'll definitely be watching you on social media, but also on the track. So thank you again for being with us today.
Thank you, Doug. I really appreciate your support. Every week I see you commenting my posts, liking my stuff and following along. And I really appreciate you doing that, man. Thank you.
Yeah. No, it's hard not to, man. You're a hard guy not to like. How about I say it that way? Did I say that?
Yeah.
Yeah. You should talk to
Thank
my
you, Doug. For real.
You'd be surprised what she would say. So thank you for that. But I look forward to meeting some more of your family members in the future. So
Yes, sir.
yeah,
Thank
that'll
you
be
so much,
great.
Doug. Real.
No, thank you. And you have just heard the high revving, low mileage, late model herd round the world authoritative podcast on automotive nostalgia. If you or someone you know has a great car story to share about their first cars, please drop us a line via email at stories@carslove.com or via social media. And the easiest way to find all of our content is our link tree, linktr.ee/carsloved. And I want to leave you with this final thought. Telling car stories is contagious. Just go ahead and ask your friends, family members, neighbors, or the owner of the next cool car you see about their first car memories and watch their reaction. I guarantee they will start to smile. And we will see you next time.